Hey folks, Eric Wooldridge here of the Additive Guru channel, and today we are going to do some modeling in Fusion for some 3D printing, and we're going to make something for Mother's Day. And just to give you the scenario, let's say you go out and you pick some flowers in the springtime and you want to put them in a little cup or something for Mom to give to her on Mother's Day. And you know, so you've got some kind of cup or mug or whatever, and you put the flowers in. Of course, they're leaning all over the place, and you don't have a vase or something to put the flowers in so they look nice and neat and well arranged. So here's what you can do. Instead of just using the cup, we're going to design and make possible to print a little cap, if you will, that will go over top of the lip of the cup and have a little taper in the middle, a little rise, to actually allow the stems to be put down into the cups and kind of hold them in place. And of course, this design can be used for a lot of different things. And of course, it can be all kinds of different sizes of cups. You could do this with like a mug or a, you know, like a red Solo cup, anything that you wanted to. What we have to make though is, using the revolve tool, something that will have a little lip like that. And I'm kind of drawing it in a cross-section form, and then it'll actually have the mound in the middle with the hole down through the middle of it for that to go through. And so the cup, the ring of the cup, would wedge itself right in here. So that's what we're making. And first thing to do, we'll have to just kind of figure out what size cup we're going to make it for. So you would probably have to go get some measurements. I'll just make up some dimensions for us, and we'll go from there. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is switch to my top view here. Actually, I'll go to the side there, and I'm going to draw some lines to just represent the cup. I do probably want to stay to the center, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a construction line. Switch over here. If you don't see your sketch palette, you can expand it out, and I'm going to draw a line right up the middle to be a center line that I'll use later on, and turn it off so it no longer is making construction. And then I'm going to draw what the cup's half lip would be, and just kind of make a cup shape here. Okay, and then I'll set the dimension to be this whatever value, and that's fine for right now. And I'll click here and set the dimension to be this value. That's fine right now. So now at this point in time, we kind of have to estimate what the size of the cup is. I have a mug here on the desk, and it is about, looks like about 60 across the bottom, and from the top it looks to be about 90. So what I'll do is I'll set this half value here to 45, and it went up a lot, and I'll set this one here to be 30, and then the overall height of this thing is probably, try not to spill anything while I'm doing this, probably 120. So I add a dimension from the bottom surface to there and set 120. Now I'm not actually going to print the cup, right? I'm actually just drawing this to work around. So I don't need it to be like regular lines, so I'll select them here and then choose my construction line tool. And so now these lines are there, I can see them, but they're actually not part of the overall creation. Okay, so if you want to, you can pause the video and do that now, or if you have a cup in mind, go ahead and measure it and figure out what these dimensions are. Alright, now the next thing we have to do is establish how thick the inside wall of the cup is. I'm looking at mine right now. I would say it's got a thickness of around 6 millimeters. So I can do this a couple of different ways. I'll probably just use my offset tool by hitting O, click on this wall right here, and pull it in a -6, and that gives me something to draw around. Now of course there's nothing there at the top, so I will actually just sort of delete this line and delete that line, and then I'll tell it to extend. Use my option here for extend, and tell it to extend to that line, and again making this a construction line by clicking over here and putting the dimension back on so that I can control it if I decide to change the thickness of the cup, which I probably won't do, but it's there and we have something to work with. So now that we have our cup, it's time to actually make our design, our feature that actually fits around. And again, just to remind you, we're making something that is kind of like this. It'll have the the central raised section, and it's going to have the lip. And on the inside, it's going to have a little kind of a peak shape to kind of wedge itself around here. This is what essentially we're going for. And the reason we want the bottom of the outside right here and here to be the same height is that way because we can print it without having any support material or anything like that. And in fact, if we round this off just right, the top, we won't have to have support material in there either. And then we'll create the wall for the rest of it. Okay, so that's what we're about to do. So let's get in here and do it. By the way, if you want to go ahead and pause the video and kind of get caught up on the wall thickness and everything, please do that now. All right, so I don't want my my creation to be perfectly fitted, like super tight. I want to have a little bit of open space. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of draw this shape. Doesn't really matter where I start. And maybe I should zoom in a little bit here. I may start right here and just kind of come up and over and come over here so it's the same height. And there we go. Maybe draw a line this way to represent the base. And I don't need this thing to sit down in the cup that much, so I'll go ahead and maybe establish a depth from here, and let's just say it's going to be about 1/2 inch. We'll just set it at, well, we'll say 15 millimeters is fine, and I need to pull this one up so that it is, well, it's locked in it. There we go. There we are. Now we're trying to look at the space in between. We don't really know what this distance is, and I could set this dimension, but here's another neat trick. If you actually just draw a circle, let's say we want about 1 millimeter of space between our wall of our creation and the wall of the cup, just to have a little bit of play on each side. So 1 millimeter, and I could actually set this up with dimensions and everything, but what I like to do, especially with projects like this, is I like just to have a little bit more freedom in my creation. So I'm just going to draw a circle, and I'm going to draw it to be 1 millimeter, and I'm going to also set it to be a construction. Maybe I'm going to set it to be a construction. There we go. And I'm going to use this to essentially just kind of gauge my size. So 1 millimeter there is about that big, and I'm going to drag this over and say, well, that's about right. And then over here, about 1 millimeter, drag it over, that's about right. And it just gives me a sense of scale while I'm drawing, so I'm not having to really worry too much about things. We'll pull that down there. Got to watch though that you don't want this to ever lose track of the other line. And parallel is fine there too. So I use the 1 millimeter just to kind of give me a feel for it. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my offset tool to create my wall. And we're just going to say this is going to be -1.4. The reason I'm doing negative, well, no, actually I should have done regular 1.4. 1.4, and maybe 1.6. We don't need to be too thick. And okay. So now it's kind of made the our creation go around it. I'm not sure I like that, the way that's doing it that way. So I may do this. Let me just get rid of that. And I may do this trick right here. Check it out. I'll just draw a point, a little triangle from there to there. This should allow, as it's printing, to come up into the object and taper to a point where we don't have to worry about support material. You may even pull that down just a little bit around that. Again, watching down the bottom to make sure that it's not extending out too far. And then maybe we'll just draw a line up a little bit and then come over. And it didn't look that great. Here's what I'll do. I'll use a spline to kind of round this thing off. There we go. There we go. So as it's printing, it'll come to the top, it'll come to a point, and everything will be fine. If I don't like the way that looks, I can kind of pull it down like that, and I can always pull these down too. It's more of a rounded top. Okay. All right, now you'll notice that it's not blue, it's not highlighted, so I'm gonna close it off there. And I'm gonna make this thing. We could go ahead and design our other part to it. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna actually just do this. Close it off there. and trim that and that. So we're only going to revolve this much, and then I'll add in the rest of my cone after the fact. So everything looks good. I hit finish sketch, and I tell it to revolve that cross section, and here's my axis, 360, new body, and we see that it has made my creation. All right. So now all I need to do is add my little piece in the middle to bring it up, and it will sit right over top of our mug or our cup, just nice and neat. Okay, why don't you pause the video and go ahead and do that. All right, so next, time to add in the feature in the middle, the cone in the middle, to actually allow the plants to be, stems to be placed down into it, and then we can make all kinds of cool stuff here in this space too. So here we go. I'm going to go to my new sketch, and this time I'll go back to my original plane that was used to create it. Because it doesn't really matter where you do it. And I'm going to switch this thing to wire view. Quick little trick, if you hit Control 7 on your keyboard, it switches to wireframe. You could also do this in display settings. But Control 4 makes it shaded, Control 7 makes it unshaded. And I want to draw on what I have here to work with. So I'm going to go to Create, Project Include, Project, and select the bottom edge. That's about all I'm going to be able to get with this thing, because it's you know, a 360 creation, but that's all I really need. And okay. And we still have our axis right down the middle. So I'm going to just simply come in here and say I want to do a line kind of like this. Maybe pull it out close to the edge. And I'll draw another little line over, and then down, and then close it off. You don't have to be exact in this kind of thing, which is great. The wall thickness, 1.6, and it looks like that. That looks like a degree symbol, so I'm not doing well there. Let me just get rid of that by just doing an offset. So that I'll just offset this line with O. There's the creation, 1.6. There we go, and zoom in close. And close it off. Now you may notice that I've not made a whole lot of effort to really lock on to that notch where it actually opens up in the part. It doesn't really matter, honestly. It's just the fact that we're kind of designing this by scratch. You don't have to have a lot of dimension control to it. You can if you want to. But my lip, my creation here, this angle, this will be along this edge, and it'll cover up the solid there. And from this point in time on, I could do all kinds of cool things. I could do like a little round here if I wanted to, a little fillet. Maybe, no I can't, because it's the 3D, I forgot, sorry. I can do that after the fact though, sorry. So anyway, there's the creation. Looks like it need to be closed off just to be sure. I think I saw something funky there. Looks okay. Okay. Alright, finish sketch and revolve. See how it's not highlighting? It means that there's something broken somewhere in there. Oh, wait, there it is. Huh, that's weird. I wasn't selected. Let's try that again. One selected. Okay. The axis is still the same axis as previously, so I can just say axis down here. And I don't want it to be a cut, I want it to be a join. And hit OK, and Control 4, and you see that our cone in the middle. So this will allow the plant stems to slide down into the cup and kind of be held in place, almost like you're making a cup into a vase at the very top, or vase, not vase, vase. Another little neat feature, I could add a little fillet right here to kind of, maybe a 6 fillet to kind of round that off just a little bit if I want to. I don't know if I like that or not, so just leave it. And you could also round the tops if you want to. But we want to make this thing a little bit more special because it's Mother's Day, of course. So we want to add some text right here. So I'll just hit my sketch, click on the top surface, Control 7 to turn the wireframe, and I'm going to add some text right here that says, see how I love you looks. hit my flips here to bring it around a little bit better. And looks like it's kind of going to fit. Maybe set up to a little bit larger font. See if I can fit it in there. Maybe not. How about 10.5? Maybe just 10. Not the best, but it works. You could, of course, do one individual letter and kind of curl them around this, or get the text to follow a path. No point getting that complex for something like this at this time. So you could also do it as separate lines if you wanted to. You could say I love you down below. It's whatever you want to do with it. Anyway, I'm going to hit OK. And all I have to do is extrude it now. Click on the text and I'll extrude it up a value of 2. Set to join, and there we go. I love you right there in the feature. Now someone might be viewing it from a different location, which is no problem. To do that, you could do like you could try to do a mirror, although it'll probably flip it. So I'll just go around and do another creation, essentially the same thing. Text there. I love you, because it's probably faster this way. And rotate it around. Of course, someone's going to be looking at it from a different direction. Actually, I can probably, hold on one second. Love you, there we go, and place it, because they're going to be looking at it from another side. And I didn't spell it right. You, there we go. And put her about right there. Alright, and we will extrude, we'll finish sketch and extrude, value of 2, join, and there we go. We got I love you and I love you right there. So they can see it from this side, or they can see it from this side. If they see it from this side, they're just going to turn it. Okay, so the last thing you may want to do is add some extra features to it to maybe reduce material, maybe make it possible a little bit easier to water, who knows. And so I'm going to cut some holes in this top feature here that can allow water to pass through and also be part of the graphic. So I'll hit my create sketch one more time, click on the top surface here, and I'm going to zoom in, hit Control-7 to turn it to a wireframe, and then get my spline. And of course, since it is Mother's Day, I'm going to zoom in real close and make a cute heart. And then once the spline's created, I can kind of round it off a little bit better. I probably should have added some more points of contact there. Let's try that again. What do you say? Spline. Generally, you'll find that the more points you have when using the spline tool, yeah, it'll work, I think. The more points that you have, the easier it is for you to kind of like shape and pull things together. There we go. Looks nice. Maybe a little bit more of a pointed heart. Perfect. Let's see, we could always make it bigger if we wanted to, but you get the general idea. Last thing I want to do is I don't really like the way it's oriented. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it, and I'm going to click on the modify, go to move or copy, and you'll notice you have the ability to move it around and also rotate it a little bit to kind of make it follow the path of the feature. And of course we can also scale it up and those kind of things if we want to, but I'm fine with the way it is. I hit OK. And so now we hit finish sketch and we hit extrude, select that profile, grab the arrow, pull it down so it becomes a cut, and we say OK. But we don't want just one heart, right? You know, we want it to match everything, so I'll use the mirror feature, select feature, select the feature in the timeline, and select my mirror plane. The mirror plane is, of course, my original origin. By the way, if your origin's not showing up, go over to your browser and turn it on. Mine's showing up, so there we go. Hit OK. And then we're like, you know what? We need more hearts than that because the other side looks kind of blank now. So I'll do the mirror again and select the mirror and that feature, and then select the mirror plane to be this one, and it should make it on the other side. There we go. Quick F, Control 4, and we have hearts, I love you, and our own little cup cap to slide down over top of our mug and put plants in for Mom on Mother's Day. So great little project to get some skills up on your fusion and also be able to 3D print, a little bit of 3D printed logic in there as well. It should print out pretty thin with a 1.6 wall thickness all the way around. You could always increase that if you want to, but you can try that. And it kind of depends on your printer capacities as well. All right, so there's the project. Good luck, happy Mother's Day, and hope this works out well for you. Oh, and as always, check out some of our social media, our Facebook, Twitter accounts, Instagram, those kind of things, and our webpage. You can find us at SCC 3D Printing on a Google search, and you'll find us that way. So you all have a good one.